We got to shut down this business, and this is where we part company.
Most Gold Rush fans think the Hoffman crew's biggest problems came from bad ground, broken machines, or missed gold targets. That's what the cameras showed. But behind the scenes, the real danger came from something far quieter: secretive deals, rushed agreements, and pressure-filled decisions that almost ended the Hoffman operation permanently. Long before some of the most chaotic scenes ever aired, the Hoffmans were already trapped in a situation they couldn't easily escape. Mining is risky on its own, but mining under a reality TV schedule adds a completely different layer of pressure. Every delay costs money, every mistake costs credibility, and every bad decision stacks on top of the last one. What viewers never fully saw was how early the warning signs appeared. From the outside, the operation looked ambitious. Big ground, big equipment, big expectations, but internally, things were far less stable. Land access wasn't always as secure as it appeared on camera. Some mining rights were tied to tight deadlines, production clauses, or handshake-style agreements that left very little room for error. If gold didn't show up fast, the losses escalated quickly, and that pressure shaped everything that came next. The Hoffman crew wasn't just mining for gold, they were mining against the clock. Filming schedules don't wait for frozen ground to thaw properly. They don't wait for permits to clear smoothly, and they don't wait for test results to confirm whether land is truly worth mining. Decisions had to be made fast, sometimes based more on optimism than hard data. That's when the quiet deals started stacking up. Some agreements were made with the understanding that gold would appear quickly enough to justify the risk. Others depended on future success to cover present costs. Equipment was moved before full testing was done. Resources were committed before results were proven. On TV, these moments were edited down to confident speeches and determined looks. In reality, they were calculated gambles that could have gone very wrong. As the season progressed, cracks began forming inside the crew itself. Not everyone was fully aware of the financial exposure involved. Some crew members believed they were chasing promising ground, while others suspected the margins were dangerously thin. Leadership decisions became more centralized as pressure mounted, and communication started breaking down. When people feel excluded from the full picture, trust erodes, especially when long days and poor returns pile up, and the tension didn't stay hidden for long. Small disagreements started carrying more weight. Simple setbacks felt catastrophic. Every breakdown sparked frustration that went deeper than the machine itself. The gold totals weren't just numbers anymore, they were proof that the risks were either paying off or failing in real time. Then came the moment that nearly changed everything. At a critical point, the Hoffmans committed to a high-risk path that left almost no margin for failure. Walking away would have meant admitting the deal wasn't solid. Staying meant pushing forward despite mounting warning signs. The cameras kept rolling, but behind them, the stress was intense. Financial obligations were locked in. Expectations were public, and backing out would have carried consequences far beyond one season. So they stayed. Equipment was pushed harder than planned, budgets were stretched thinner than comfortable, and optimism became a necessity rather than a strategy. On screen it looked like determination. Off screen it was survival mode. What followed wasn't an instant collapse, and that's what made it more dangerous. Instead of one dramatic failure, the damage built slowly. Each setback chipped away at morale. Each missed target forced harder decisions. Crew members began questioning whether the risks made sense anymore. Some wondered if the operation was being driven more by the show than by sound mining logic. Others felt trapped by commitments that couldn't be undone without serious fallout. And Discovery's presence, while never directly controlling decisions, undeniably amplified the stakes. Reality TV doesn't force outcomes, but it changes incentives. Success isn't just measured in gold, it's measured in whether the story continues. Walking away from bad ground might be smart mining, but it doesn't make compelling television. That tension creates a dangerous gray area where the line between smart risk and reckless persistence gets blurred. By the time the season wrapped, the Hoffman crew had survived, but barely. What viewers didn't see was how strained relationships had become once the cameras stopped. Some crew members chose not to return, quietly stepping away from an environment that felt too unstable. Others stayed but with a different mindset, fully aware of how close everything came to collapsing. The gold totals told one story. The aftermath told another. Financial recovery took longer than expected. Trust had to be rebuilt. Future deals were approached more cautiously, or at least they were supposed to be. The experience left a lasting mark on how the Hoffmans operated going forward, even if it was never openly discussed on the show. And here's the part most fans still underestimate. Gold Rush isn't just about digging dirt and chasing ounces. It's about balancing risk, reputation, and reality, all while millions of viewers judge every move. The Hoffman crew didn't just survive bad ground. They survived a series of decisions that could have ended their story entirely. Some risks paid off just enough to keep them going. Others came dangerously close to destroying everything they'd built. So the next time you watch a tense weigh-in or a heated argument on Gold Rush, remember this: what you're seeing is only the surface. The real story is often happening in the deals you never hear about, the conversations that never air, and the moments where walking away feels impossible. And sometimes the most dangerous part of the gold rush isn't the ground beneath your feet, it's the choices you make when turning back no longer feels like an option. What made that period especially dangerous was how normal everything still looked on the surface. The trucks were running. The wash plant was moving dirt. Gold was still being weighed. To viewers, it looked like another tough season. But internally, the margin for error had shrunk to almost nothing. Every unexpected repair now carried consequences beyond cost. Fixing a broken machine wasn't just about parts or labor anymore. It meant deciding which other expense wouldn't get paid on time. Fuel, transport, crew logistics, future testing, everything competed for the same limited pool of money. And once that pool started shrinking, decisions became reactive instead of strategic. That's when long-term planning quietly disappeared. Instead of asking whether the ground was worth mining for the rest of the season, the question became whether it could survive one more week, one more run, one more push. That mindset is dangerous in mining because it rewards short-term hope over long-term reality. And the Hoffmans weren't immune to it. The stress also changed how leadership was perceived inside the crew. When pressure is extreme, authority often tightens, decisions come faster, explanations get shorter. Some crew members began feeling like they were being asked to execute plans without fully understanding the risk behind them. That doesn't create rebellion, it creates quiet doubt. And quiet doubt spreads faster than open conflict. People started watching the gold totals differently. A good weigh-in didn't bring relief anymore. It brought temporary permission to keep going. A bad one felt heavier than before, because everyone knew there wasn't much cushion left. Even small wins felt fragile, like they could vanish with the next breakdown or bad cut. And then there was the question nobody wanted to ask out loud. What happens if this doesn't turn around? Ending a season early isn't just a business decision in reality television. It affects contracts, future opportunities, and reputations. For the Hoffmans, walking away wouldn't have looked like smart risk management, it would have looked like failure. And once that perception sets in, it follows you into every future deal. So instead of stopping, they leaned in harder. More dirt, longer hours, more pressure on machines that were already stretched thin. The gamble wasn't just about gold anymore. It was about proving they could endure, about showing they wouldn't quit when things got ugly. That mindset can build legends or destroy them. What made things worse was how isolated those decisions felt. Mining camps are remote by nature, and that isolation amplifies stress. There's no quick reset, no stepping away for perspective. When doubts creep in, they stay with you through every shift, every repair, every late-night conversation. Over time, that wears people down in ways the camera never captures. By the end of the season, exhaustion wasn't just physical. Mentally, the crew was drained. Emotionally, patience was thin. Even those who stayed committed understood something fundamental had changed. The operation had survived, but it hadn't escaped unscathed. Trust had been tested, limits had been pushed, and not everyone was sure they wanted to go through that again. After filming stopped, reality set in. Some of the pressure lifted, but the consequences remained. Financial loose ends had to be tied up. Relationships had to be repaired or quietly left behind. Future plans were made more cautiously, shaped by the memory of how close things came to falling apart, and that experience lingered. It influenced how deals were approached later, how risks were measured, how much optimism was allowed into serious decisions. The Hoffmans had learned something the hard way: survival isn't the same as success, and staying in the game can sometimes cost more than walking away. That's why the story of that season matters more than most people realize. It wasn't about one bad call or one unlucky break. It was about a chain of decisions made under pressure, where each choice narrowed the path forward until only one direction felt possible. And when that happens, even experienced miners can find themselves boxed in. So when fans look back and wonder how the Hoffmans kept going, the answer isn't just determination or grit. It's momentum. Momentum built from deals, expectations, and choices that couldn't easily be undone. And sometimes, momentum is the most dangerous force of all.